Hey YouTubers, good evening, good night, good morning on this great land of ours, wherever you're watching this transmission across many time zones. 'Tis I, Mike Martins, and I got this very interesting article here I want to read with you guys. Yes, and below that was that was a posting below me. If you look below me for a house in Vancouver, that little, I can't remember what that was, but it was a teardown house. It was very famous. It was on Facebook for $2.3 million. And yes, you are not seeing that wrong. So let's take a look at this here, guys. This article was sent to me from my friend. She sends me articles all the time. She lives in Vancouver, and she wanted me to read this tonight, or maybe give this a look over and maybe share it with you guys. So that's what I'm going to do. Vancouver renters struggle to find homes as prices climb, availability declines. So it sounds like to me like it's Auckland, New Zealand. It's turning into New Zealand levels right now. New Zealand's gotten to the point where they've completely revamped their laws to help protecting New Zealand proper, because yeah, let's read the article. Vancouver, John Fletcher lives in a one-bedroom apartment on Vancouver's east side with her 10-year-old son. The building has mice and mold, and her new landlord is threatening eviction. Well, she has plenty of reasons to leave. Fletcher says she's fighting to stay for as long as possible because she can't afford anything else in the area, and leaving would mean disrupting her son's school year. It's not like I could pick and go. There isn't anything for me to go to, she said in a recent interview. Fletcher isn't alone in feeling the impact of housing affordability crisis affecting cities across the country. The Canada Mortgage and Housing Corp says average rents nationally went up last year by 2.7%, at $947 per month. That's the average, okay, across the board. So if you're in like Timbuktu, Nova Scotia, it's $947. It's in that range, right? So they take the entire average across the country and then find out what the median is. So it's $947. But let's keep reading. Meanwhile, the availability of rentals is becoming increasingly limited. The CMHC says overall vacancy rate for cities across the country was 3%. In 2017, down 3.7% in 2016. It is, in its annual report on rental housing, the corporation said the demand for purpose-built rental is outpacing the growth in supply, while the rate of condominium rented out also declined. Craig Johnson, PhD candidate in geography and in the University of British Columbia, said the situation is largely the result of federal government's move away from building rental housing in the early 1990s AD, combined with the extreme profitability of building condominiums over rentals in the private sector. The government used to build thousands of units of rental housing annually, and the private sector does not have appear to have filled the gap in the years since. Wow, Jones said. So this is a long time and running, eh? Although up to a third of condos are estimated to be rented out by owners, Jones said that the rents are typically not as affordable as a rental-only properties, and tenancies aren't secure because owners can always choose to move back in, renovate, trigger other means of eviction. So Statistics Canada reported last year that nearly a quarter of Canadians spent more than 30% of their income on shelter costs, which is the market for affordability. So 30% of their income, you know what they're taking? They're taking your gross annual income. They're not taking your net, what you actually physically take home. They're taking, I make 90 grand a year. No, you don't. You make 65 because the government takes the rest. And they're actually taking it off the gross. So it's actually a lot more deteriorating than it seems. So people in the States are watching, 30% is not bad, but trust me, it's bad. Jones said that statistics are a sign that many people live in precarious circumstances. It's taking a long time to get here. It's taken decades of ignoring the system, he said. Adding it would take at least 10 years of government commitments to resolve the problem. That is something that is difficult to do because it's expensive and it doesn't show immediate results. Immediate results. Very true. And that's what New Zealand's doing in the article I read last week. They're building, I think it's 40,000 or 4,000 new homes in that area there that I was reading for you guys. Check out the New Zealand article I read. It's over there in Housing Crisis on my channel. Fletcher is one of those people caught in the housing crisis. I'm just sort of pretending it's not happening in many ways. On certain days, I just keep it right off my radar. Otherwise, I'd lose it, she said. She has lived in Vancouver apartment for 8 years and pays $930 a month in rent, which included basic cable until February. Fletcher has multiple sclerosis and is unemployed, but looking for work. She said that she's been looking for a 2-bedroom home for years, but units are hard to come by. A suite that become available in the area was more than double what she pays in rent. Yeah, because the rent is on average for a 2-bedroom is about $1,600 to $2,000, right? Her building was recently sold to a company, and Fletcher said that the new landlord began approaching tenants in January, offering to pay them 3 months' rent if they move out by April. She was offered 5 months' rent if she signed an agreement by mid-February. It's a drop in the bucket. I don't have anywhere to live, she said. Fletcher declined the offer and decided to wait for an eviction notice. She hopes that will be the last 8 months away, since the legal notice requires permits from the city to develop the property, which is a lengthy process to obtain. The city says it has not received applications from any development and the property. So nothing's been said yet, so which is a good thing. The landlord did not respond for requests for comment. Of course, the landlord's not going to respond. A spokesperson for the Tenants Resource and Advisory Center in BC said evictions caused by renovations or redevelopments are among the most common problems tenants report. So basically, they throw you out and they repaint the room, and then they charge an extra $500-600 a month. That's what they're trying to. That's what they're trying to do, because the cost of the finding a place is nil. I'm lucky I found the place that I did when I was living in Vancouver, the townhouse I was living in, the 3-bedroom. Very lucky. But then the rent, after I moved out, they raised the rent to $2,600 a month. Whew, lucky I left the city of Vancouver. Thank God. Andrew Sakamoto said the province's Residential Tenancy Act should be changed to double the notice time for evictions to 4 months and offer greater compensation to renters. Availability of housing may be the problem, but stronger laws protect tenants could make difference until supply catches up with demand, he said. So also, I don't know if you guys know, in Portland, Oregon, they passed a law that landlords need to pay tenants moving costs too. So if they're going to start pulling this crap, or, hey, by the way, you're going to get out in 3 months, I got this and I got that, and here's your eviction notice. Well, here you go, Mr. Landlord. You have to pay for my moving costs, and I'm moving to Alabama. How you like that? So that's what's happening, people. In Portland, Oregon, you can look it up. Portland, Oregon, landlords on the hook for moving fees for tenants. You can look it up. I read it a few weeks ago on my channel. You need to have a security of tender and a safe housing in order to thrive in other aspects in life. Sakamoto said, I think we need to get away from this commodification of housing and see it for what it really should be. And that's basic rights for all Canadians. You know, it goes back to the other article I read. The last article I just read about millennials. How they're putting life on hold because they can't get married. They can't settle down and have kids because their housing situation and their credit card debt situation that they are facing right now is out of control. Okay, Dan Garrison's Vancouver Assistant Director of Housing Policy said that there is a lot older housing stock that needs to be updated. The city has tougher rules than the province when it comes to redeveloping rental properties. We know renters in the city are certainly feeling vulnerable and development pressure, Garrison said. We are trying to strike a balance. Landlords in Vancouver who evicted their tenants are required to pay several months' rent, assist in relocating them within the city. Okay, there you go. And pay for moving costs. There you go. Sorry, guys. I just got a little bit too ahead of myself. Developers would also have to give previous tenants the opportunity to move back into the building at the discounted rate. Woof. Not all jurisdictions share these policies. In Toronto, Jillian Zeppa, 30, who works for a non-profit education organization, couch surfed with friends for 6 months after she was evicted from her one-bedroom basement suite last fall. Zeppa said she had lived in the unit for 16 months when her landlord decided to move in herself, prompting her eviction. She disputed the notice with the provincial rental housing enforcement and was awarded $2,000 in compensation. But Zeppa said the cost of moving, storing her belongings, searching for a new home, and the stress of the experience had her hoping she'd receive twice the amount. Her situation reflects a concerning trend, say housing advocates in Ontario. Ghiardi Dent, executive director of Federation of Metro Tenants Association, said that 9 of the last 10 years, the number of reasons the agency received calls from tenants facing eviction was due to unpaid rent. Okay, I mean, you don't pay your rent, obviously you're gonna face the boot. It's gonna happen, right? But last year that changed, with an explosive increase in landlords choosing to make use of the home themselves or by their family, he said. Probably most of them are going to be in bad faith, meaning that landlord is actually moving in. It's just pushing tenants out to be able to jack up the rent, Dent said. The Ontario government responded by bringing in new rules last September that require landlords to pay a tenant 1 month rent compensation if the landlord advertises rents, demolish, or converts the unit within a year. Signaling they are just using it themselves, they could also face up to a fine of $25,000. In many cases, landlords want to get rid of their oldest tenant who pay the lowest rent, Dent said. Being able to charge higher rents for few tenants could be enough to cover the penalties, he added. Zeppa pays $1,050 per month, finding a new place close to transit for the same rent with similar amenities such as laundry in the building provided to be impossible. The golden rule, spending 30% of your money on rent, I feel like is out the window because rent is going up. No one's salary is going up, said Zeppa. Now, salaries haven't moved in like 15, 20 years. If they feel like they're moving because interest rates are going down and you feel like you're getting a better deal on your money, but you're really not. It's an illusion, you know what I'm saying? She moved into a new apartment on April 1st, 1 month after searching, but $1,300 a month, Zeppa said she had to make sacrifices. The new unit accounts for 45% of her take-home income, and it is far enough from her office that she'll have to spend an hour in transit rather than walking or cycling. Oh, that sucks. There are also changes she is looking at to cover the extra costs for rent. I'm either going to travel or not going to make any RRSP contributions every year. One of them is going to have to be sacrificed. I realized in the budget planning of it all that doesn't really feel right, she said. While she's confident her new home will be more stable, Zeppa said if she is evicted again, she's more likely to consider other areas in the country to live and work. Get out of the city, people. It's a fraud. This whole experience has allowed me to realize Toronto will not be forever a place for me, she said. So this is covering Toronto stories and Vancouver stories. The federal government announced the national housing strategy last fall that commits $40 billion over the 10 years to new units and upgrades of aging properties, including loans, and encouraging developers to build new housing geared towards modest and middle-income families. The provinces and territories have agreed to fund a key piece of the housing strategy and spending billions to repair and build social housing units to create rental benefit. It adds 50,000 units to the system and repair 60,000 more while promoting construction of mixed income and mixed use residential developments. Aled Ab-Iborth, deputy chief economist of CMHC, said whether there is enough incentive for developers to construct purpose-built rental housing remains unclear. I think there are a lot of incentives out there to build, he said. However, exactly the market supplies, that is a little bit conditional of their own decision. How many vacant homes in Vancouver? So, how many vacant units are there in Vancouver? Data shows 98% increase in empty homes since 2001. 98% increase. Wow. 24,495 units were unoccupied or temporary or foreign residents for 2016. So since 2001, 98% increase from 2001 of empty homes. So if you were to take the 25,000 units, multiply it by 4, that's how many people you could house. That's 100,000. And that could even take the heat off some of the rents. So the rent's so high, but boom, you get 25,000 units for rent on the market tomorrow. The price of rents are going to significantly cool down. So I just wanted to throw this out there for you guys. Yeah, it keeps going up. It keeps going up. Foreign residents, that's what it says. Number of dwelling units, either unoccupied or occupied temporary. Yeah, that's what it is, people. So that's a lot of units. This is from a few weeks ago. Vancouver hotspots to be tracked by the city of Vancouver. These are empty homes. See, it's all abandoned and empty. The city of Vancouver is using data collected from... I just want to see these. Oh, it's got these really nice shutters. I want to get the shutters on the side of my house here. The city of Vancouver is using data collected from empty homes declarations to build a detailed heat map, which will reveal areas of the city that have the heaviest concentration of vacant units and houses. Oh, there's so many. So, there's just so many. The last census mounted at 25,500 empty homes in Vancouver. So this article's from this is from like a few weeks ago, actually. February 2018. So this is a few weeks back. So I kind of wanted to throw this out there for you guys. I think if there wasn't so many empty units, I know New Zealand is like 25%. There's a huge percentage in New Zealand that's empty. So is Sydney and Melbourne. London is crazy. Half of London is a ghost city now. All the young people have left to central England, and mid-England, or whatever you want to call it, and the rest is just, they're not going to deal with it, you know what I'm saying? Anyways, comment below, let me know what you guys think in the comments, and thanks for watching, guys.